Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Priyadharshan Kannappan, and what you are seeing is 21 Gems of Chess, a series brought to you by Chess Gyaan Academy and Follow Chess app. So 21 Gems of Chess is where we talk about legendary chess players and players who had the potential to become world champion or played the candidate multiple times, and we have been discussing about players like Timon, Bololevsky, Reshevsky, and so on. And today we are going to be discussing about the legendary Lajos Portisch from Hungary. So the game that we are going to be discussing was played in 1961, where Portisch was having the white pieces and Vladimir Simagin had the black pieces in Maroczy Memorial. Before we talk about the game, I'll just give a brief introduction of who Portisch is as a player. Portisch has a very long history, and he could be possibly the only player whom we have talked so far in the series who is alive. Portisch is right now 83 years old, and his current rating is 2467 with a peak rating of 2655 in January 1980. And the most important information is that he qualified for the candidate cycle a total of 8 times, for the first time in 1965 and for the last time in 1988. So for 23 years he was kind of on the elite level of chess, and he has played multiple times chess Olympiad for Hungary, and he's also called the Hungarian Botvinnik for his positional style of chess. So these are the big achievements of Portisch, and we are going to be looking at a game from him. So before we look at the game, I have a quick announcement to make. So Chess Gyaan Academy is hosting an online tournament on April 13th from at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time with a total cash prize of 56,000 rupees, and we have close to 11 titled players. I'm saying international masters and grandmasters, with the highest rated player so far registered being Grandmaster Alexander Lenderman from USA, 2640 rated player. So don't miss your chance to play in such a strong tournament, and you can find all the details of the tournament in the description link of this YouTube video. So now let's get into the game. So white starts with d4, and d4 is the most favorite move of Portisch. He has tried c4 and knight f3 and similar setups, but he has only very few times gone 1e4 in his chess playing career. And for d4, black responded with knight f6, white went c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, we have an Nimzo Indian, and white goes e3. So e3 was the favorite move of Portisch. Few games he did go f3, and few games he went bishop g5, but those moves don't look very close to his positional style. f3 is generally considered a very tactical and aggressive move these days. So e3 kind of perfectly suits his style, very long game, positional, fighting for the center, maybe sometimes fighting for the space on the queen side, and sometimes white will try to win the double bishop and just keep playing with the double bishop advantage. A very positional setup in nature. So black went short castle, white went knight f3, d5. So here white has multiple options, like cd5 is an option, a3 is an option, bishop d2 is an option, and obviously the most popular and natural move is bishop d3, and black can continue like c5, short castle, knight c6, and there's a lot of games and a lot of theory that you need to learn to understand the nuances of this position over here. In the game though, white went a3, comparatively not as popular as bishop d3. And here what would you make as a move for black is a question. Would you take on c3, or would you go back with your bishop to maybe e7? And the solution for that would be that both the moves are playable, but bishop e7 is not as great as bishop c3 in my opinion. The bishop e7 was played in this game by Vladimir Simagin, but the most popular move remains bishop takes c3 check. The point being, after b takes c3, black goes for immediate counterplay in the center with c5, and if bishop b2, black goes knight c6, rook c1, knight a5, cd5, e takes d5, and if d takes c5, black can go bishop e6, and if black manages to put a knight on c4 at some point in the future and go to some sort of rook c8, rook c5, and get a strong hold on this position, then it's a big problem for white. So a good idea for white would be to go c4 immediately, sacrifice not sacrifice, kind of give up the already extra pawn that he has, and then try to, keep the game going. This is an unfairly uncleared position on the board. In the game, black went bishop e7 instead of bishop takes e3. So the point of this bishop e7 is that the same exact position can be reached through a queen's gambit declined move order. If you think about it, how about, let's say d4, d5, c4, e6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, bishop e7, e3, short castle, a3. So the same exact position that we have on the board or after move 6, just that in the other move order it is, it's black to play, and here it is white to play. And I think that one tempo which side to play is a big differentiator in opening in Nimzo-Indian, like in opening like Nimzo-Indian. So for this, white has multiple options again, and some of the tries that have been already played by strong grandmasters include moves like b4. This was a game that was played between Anton Korobov and Danny Dubov in rapid game in St. Petersburg, and black went knight d7, bishop b2, c6, queen c2, d takes c4, bishop c4, a5, b takes a5, rook a5, and short castle. And just a quick note about Anton Korobov and Daniel Dubov. Both of them are extremely original chess players. They have played very interesting ideas, and they have brought together a lot of new ways of handling a lot of systems. So players that you can study if you want to learn a lot of original chess in modern times. So b4 was that game. The other ideas include moves like queen c2, then knight bd7, you just capture cd5, d5, bishop d3, and a fairly standard position on the board. And if c5, if white is trying to gain a lot of space on the queen side, black can simply play b6, b4, c6, and now black is ready to play a5 followed by bishop a6, and kind of exchange bunch of pieces on the queen side, and then at the right moment go for some sort of e5 break and solve all his problems. So cd5 is another option. If ed5, bishop d3, rook e8, white can just castle, standard position. And I think the best move is to just go b3 here and complete the development of bishop b2. The point being, I don't want to kind of show where I want to put my f1 bishop yet, and by playing b3, I'm kind of figuring out what black also wants to do. So an idea is like b6, bishop b2, bishop b7, then maybe cd5, ed5, bishop d3. Slight, edge for white in my opinion, or some people may call it unclear, this position. In the game, white went bishop d3, black went b6. If black goes d takes c4, bishop c4, c5, short castle a6, d takes c5, bishop takes c5, you may notice that we actually have an extremely symmetrical position, just that white has an additional knight on c3. That is that one tempo that black actually lost going bishop b4, bishop e7. And now white can go b4 and gain one more tempo attacking the bishop, and I don't really like this position for black, because when you're two tempos down in a very symmetrical position, the white side should have some sort of an advantage in the board. So in the game for bishop d3, black went b6, white short castled, black played c5, now b3, bishop b7. So we kind of transpose to the setup that I had earlier mentioned as the best one that white can get. A very similar setup is what we have on the board. And for bishop b7, white goes bishop b2, and here black again has multitude of options. So that's kind of one good and bad thing about positions like this, is that easily you can forget the theory, because the moves all look very similar, structure look very similar, and sometimes the one move that works in a certain structure or exact position may not work in another piece placement. So maybe you may see the same position with a6 included or without a3 included, and that could make a big difference, those kind of minor changes. And so here black could go on dc4, b takes c4, cd4, ed4, and give white the hanging pawns. So for people who are not really sure what hanging pawns is, generally if you get this pawn structure, it's called the hanging pawns, because there's no pawn on b file or on the e file to support d and c, but only the minor pieces are supporting the pawns. That's why they're called the hanging pawns. So the other option for black would be to go knight c6, then white can give black the hanging pawns with cd5, d5, dc5, bc5, and you see the hanging pawns here. And hanging pawns are not bad or anything, it's just that how you play with them or how you play against them matters. And white can go queen c2 and a fairly unclear position on the board. And for bishop b2, black can go knight b d7, but then c d5, knight d5, knight takes d5, bishop d5, rook c1, and white has some e4 followed by e5 kind of threats. Maybe slightly better for white, a tiny bit preference I would give for white in this position. So none of this was played in the game, though. Black went for c takes d4, e takes d4. Knight d4 doesn't really impress me because black simply captures bishop c4 and goes knight b d7, and black can go knight e5 kind of ideas, rook c8. I don't think black has any problems in completing its development here. So e d4 makes more sense because you're kind of trying to jump with your knight to e5 at some point and create some threats. Black goes knight c6, rook c1, rook c8. So with rook c1, white has officially completed all its pieces except for the queen has been developed once, and the queen's position is still kind of questionable. Like, where do you want to put the queen? Do you want the queen to go like queen c2, queen b1, or do you want to go something like queen e2, or is the queen on d1 itself doing a good job? Because technically right now the queen on d1 is doing a good job, because for example black cannot play something like dc4, bc4, knight d4. Thanks to queen being on d1, you have this bishop at 7 check and winning the queen. So maybe some players may even just simply consider having the queen on d1 as a good square and just try to develop the remaining pieces. So that is why this is a very first critical moment in the game, in my opinion, because the opening phase is officially ended and now we are transitioning into the middle game. So here, what would you play? So I would highly suggest the viewers to pause the video, come up with some plans on where would you put your pieces, and once you are kind of satisfied with your idea and you're kind of very sure that this is what I would play if I was having the white pieces here, then you can proceed watching the video from here. So in this position, white went with knight e2. The other option for white that I considered is rook e1. Looks kind of logical to me. But here black can play dc4, b takes c4, knight a5, and this pawn is under pressure. And if white goes knight b1, trying to regroup with knight b d2 and provide additional support, black has a very kind of a nice idea here. That is to go a6 with the idea to go b5 at some point in the near future and get the control of this d5 square for his queen or knight or the bishop. And the control of kind of the outpost square of d5 would give black a tremendous amount of play. So even black could be even okay sacrificing a pawn, just going b5 in the next move or so. So that is a position where black is doing fine. So rook e1 was not played in the game. White went knight e2, and this is actually the new move or novelty in the game back in 1961. And the idea of knight e2 is pretty simple. The knight isn't doing much on c3, and actually it's blockading the bishop from kind of playing on this diagonal a1 h8. So knight e2 makes a lot of sense, and also you kind of provide additional defense to the d4 pawn. So for this, black went d takes c4, b takes c4, and black starts his own regrouping with bishop d6. Another idea for black that I think black could have played, and that's what I think I would have done if I was in black's position here, was knight a5. So my idea is fairly straightforward. I'm going to ruin the pawn structure if bishop takes f3, so white will go knight g3. And here, black has this very interesting move, I would say, to go g6. The point of it is, I'm kind of covering the f5 square if white goes some sort of d5 pawn push. And another idea being if rook e1, rook e8, knight e5, I have bishop f8, and I'm going to regroup the bishop to g7 and put pressure on this pawn in the long term. And black has a pretty fine position here too. So for dc4, b takes c4, bishop d6, white went knight g3, and now black went knight a5. And white goes rook e1, and black plays a very natural looking move. I'm not going to reveal which move it is. I would suggest the viewers to kind of think and come up with some ideas like what move would you play if you had the black pieces here. And once you made the decision, once you have seen some variations you have calculated, then go ahead and check the move that was played by Vladimir Simagin here. So Simagin continued with bishop a6. This is a very natural looking move. I'm putting pressure on the c4 pawn, and that's why I actually went rook c8 and knight a5 and so on. So it's the natural looking move. But this move is actually, I think, the big moment when the game shifted in white's favor. Even up to this point, the game was still very much balanced. Both sides had their chances. But this was the moment when the things started shifting in favor of white. So what else could have black done if bishop a6 is not such a great move? I think the critical move for black would have been to go bishop to f4, provoke the rook to go to c2. Rook c3 would not be a great idea because then you're blocking your own bishop here. And so for rook c2, then black can go bishop c6. So now again black is threatening to go bishop a4, and white cannot really go rook e2 because then white is queen to f3 is blocked, so black can simply play bishop takes f3 in this position. So for bishop c6, if white goes d5, which is a very interesting move, bishop a4, d6, and kind of a unclear position, I would say. This is what we have on the board here. So this is what black should have played, and another option for black is just go rook e8, and if knight e5 then go g6 with the same idea, bishop d6, bishop f8, bishop g7, and again an unclear position on the board. But bishop a6 was played, and now white goes knight e5, the best move, and white actually takes over the initiative and central control. And possibly also the good thing about knight e5 is that now this queen has a very big role to play. It can come to f3 possibly, it's threatening knight h5 kind of ideas and so on. So the black king has to kind of start being careful. And if you noticed, two lines in two variations I mentioned this move g6, and one of the key ideas is to stop knight h5, another is to kind of save the h7 pawn. So here black can go h6, but then white can simply go rook e3 with the idea to go knight h5 and rook g3 and build an attack. And if in the game black went bishop takes e5, which is a mistake because white simply captures d5, black goes knight d7. Instead of knight d7, if black went knight e8, what is the move that you would play as white is a question you should ask yourself. White has a lot of attractive continuations. The variation that I really liked when I was looking at this position was bishop to c3. The point being, I'm threatening to go bishop b4 and win an exchange, and in case knight c4, white doesn't even have to immediately go for bishop b4. White can simply play queen e2 and put pressure on the a6 bishop first, and then bishop b4 is coming anytime. So for d5, black went knight d7. So this is the second critical moment for white. The one critical decision white made was knight e5, and black responded bishop e5. So now what should white do? I mean, if you look at it, more or less all the black pieces have now come to the queen side, and white pieces, the two bishops, even though they are right now on the queen side, they are aiming at the black king, and knight on g3 is well positioned to go after the black king. So white pieces are aiming at the black's king side, whereas black pieces are just kind of trying to create play on the queen side. So that does mean it's very clear which side of the board white is going to play. White is going to generate an attack or try to generate an attack on the king side. So what would be the move that you would play? So I would strongly suggest the viewers here to pause the video and calculate. A lot of variations are there here in this position, so you can calculate it out, and once you feel fairly confident about finding a very amazing resource or a variation where you get a big advantage, then you can proceed with the video. So in this position, Portisch played bishop takes h7 check, a very interesting move. It does give advantage, but he could have chosen even simpler moves than bishop h7. For example, queen g4 is a very straightforward move. I mean, white is threatening to go knight h5 and attack the g7 pawn. If black goes king h8, white can go rook cd1. Now white is kind of putting pressure on the d7 knight indirectly, and if rook takes c4, something, let's say if black plays something like rook c4, then white can take bishop c4 if he wants, or white can even coolly ignore that and just simply go knight e4, and then then bishop c4 is threatened, knight f6 or knight g5, and black is actually in big trouble here. So this is one way to play for white. Another option for white is to go knight h5 and they kind of aim at the g7 pawn. Again, black can go king h8, and if white goes queen g4, now black has g6, and white has queen f4. The point being, if you go gh5, I can simply go queen h6, and there's going to be a mate on h7. So for queen f4, if black goes bishop takes c4, white can play bishop c4, knight c4, rook takes c4, rook takes c4, queen c4, gh5, and white can go rook d1 and kind of put pressure here, possibly pick up this pawn in the future. This pawn is very weak. Now the advantage is slightly more positional in nature, because white, I think, will end up exchanging the queens, but white will pick up bunch of pawns, and white will be able to win the rook and bishop is rook and knight endgame. So this is if 19th move knight h5. So we saw queen g4 and knight h5, and both of them lead to advantage of varying degrees. And in the game, white shows a third continuation, which is very sharp, and I'm pretty sure Portisch calculated quite extensively here before he played this move. I don't think he played it out of intuition. And as I said at the start of the video, Portisch is a pretty positional player. So for him to go and play aggressively like this was one of the reasons why he chose this game, to show how even someone as like a positional player, shows multiple aggressive and attacking ideas and manages to execute in a very well manner. So in this position, bishop h7, black is forced to capture king h7, queen h5 check, king g8. And what do you think Portisch had in mind here? Looks like the king is safe. So what did he really calculate? And the move that he had calculated, I believe, is knight e4. That's what he played in the game. The point of it is simply knight g5 followed by queen h7 is being threatened. But normally, if you see a position like this, it would be already be white to play. White would have already captured on h7, given a check on h5, then would immediately go knight g5 next move. But here the position for black is so bad that even though black has one tempo here, like he can do anything he wants, still knight g5 is a deadly threat that is coming up. So for example, let's say if black plays knight takes c4 here, knight g5 would be I would like to ask the viewers, is knight g5 a good move here? So calculate that, and if you think knight g5 is a good move, then do play knight g5. Or if you think knight g5 is not such a great move, I think I have a better move than knight g5, then calculate that out before proceeding to watch this video. So in this position, knight g5 would be a mistake, because black has queen takes g5, queen g5, knight b2, and you can see that black has actually 3 minor pieces for the queen, and I think black is doing fine. Black should be it's kind of an equality, unclear compensation kind of position on the board. So knight g5 would be a blunder, but instead white has rook c d1, bringing the rook into the attack. And the idea is not something like rook d3, rook h3. That's not the idea. If that's the case, then maybe even white would have actively considered just simply going rook c3, right? But the idea of rook c d1 is something else. The point is, if knight takes b2, the point being rook takes d7, queen takes d7, and then go knight f6 check. And if gf6, go queen g4, and if king h7, then go e takes f6. And now queen g7 checkmate is threatened. If black goes rook g8, then white simply goes queen h5 checkmate. So this is the point of this whole knight e4, if knight takes e4, rook c d1 variation. So for knight e4, black has to stop knight g5, or black has to do some sort of counter attack, and we saw the move knight c4, which is the counter attack variation. So that did not work out. So then the black's best option is to stop knight g5. So how can you stop knight g5? The only move is to go f6. So now what should white do? No more knight g5. Should white play ef6? Is that what white has in mind, or should white do something else? Or should white try to go some rook c3, rook e3 kind of ideas? But the problem with any idea that's related to going to the h file with rook e3 or rook c3 is, even after rook e3, rook h3, queen check h7 or h8, there's a king f7 escape square right now. So, and also rook e3, rook h3 is 2 moves. By then black would have found better defensive resources. So it's a bit too slow to go rook e3 or rook c3. And the other option for f6 is, let's say, e takes f6. But now black can play knight f6, and if bishop f6, black has rook f6, and if rook c d1, queen f8, knight takes f6, queen f6, rook e3. White has a rook and pawn for 2 minor pieces, and there is some weaknesses on e6 and a7 and so on. But I feel black should be able to keep his pieces together and hold this position. I don't think black will lose from here. It looks a bit risky in an initial look, but with precise defense, black should be able to hold on to his pieces together and not lose any material. So this is f20 second move, e takes f6. Portisch did not play this move either. He played the strongest move. He went rook c d1. So now again some rook d7 threats are on the air, and if fe5 is played, which is I think which I consider as the best move but was not played in the game, then white will play bishop e5, rook f5, queen g6, and if queen e7, then white goes bishop takes g7, queen takes g7, queen takes g7, king g7, rook takes d7, and if rook f7, then rook takes f7, king f7, knight d6 check, king f6, knight c8, bishop c8, rook c1. So we have got a pretty forced variation where in the end white has rook and 2 pawns for the 2 minor pieces, and it's a bit risky for black, to be honest, this position, as the 3 pawns here on the king side can't really be controlled by black in my opinion. So white clearly has the advantage here. So this is 22nd move fe5. In the game black made a big mistake. Black went rook takes c4. So what is the tactical shot that white should do here? And would suggest you to pause the video, calculate the variations, and then go ahead and play through the video. So here white played this brilliant move, knight takes f6, ripping open the black's king, and if gf6 here, then you just go queen g6 check, king h8, ef6, and f7 is being threatened with the check being coming from the bishop on b2, and black can't really do much. And in case of black played rook f6, then you simply capture ef6 and it's pretty much lost. So for knight f6, if black plays knight takes f6, e takes f6, now the queen is under pressure, a lot of problems for black. Black goes queen e8, hoping for a queen trade. White simply goes queen to g5. And if black goes g6, what would be the move that you would play? You can find this move in like 5 to 10 seconds if you're being tactically very alert, and that move is rook to d7. So white is trying to distract the queen away from e8, so that if queen d7, then he can play queen takes g6 check, king h8, and then go f7 check, and if rook d4, go queen h6 mate. So this is if g6, and if rook f7, white can simply capture fg7 followed by rook d8 or queen h6, queen h8 kind of ideas. So for queen g5, black went queen f7, white played f takes g7, queen takes f2 check, king h1, rook e8, queen h5 attacking the rook, threatening queen h8 check. So black goes rook c c8, queen h8 check, king f7, rook d7 check, king g6. And how should you proceed here? Looks pretty much lost for black, but still white needs to play a bit careful. I mean, till the game is officially over or your opponent resigns, the game is not yet over. There's still always some hidden ideas that is left for your opponent. So you should never relax till the game is officially over. So and Portisch obviously finds the best moves, just simply going g8 and clearing the h7 or the clearing the h7 square control, so that if rook takes g8, at some point you can go queen h7 check, but first white goes rook takes e6 check. And here if king f5 or king g5, for rook e6, Vladimir Simagin resigned as he saw the checkmate, but for the viewers I'll just show how the checkmate would have possibly happened. So if king g5, then rook d5 check, and if queen f5, you don't even have to take the queen h6 check, king g4, queen h3 and checkmate, like the next move. And if rook e6, king f5, then queen e5 check, king g4, h3 check, king h4, rook h6 mate. So seeing this, Simagin decided that it's better to resign than to keep playing after rook takes e6, as there's no defense. So a very sharp game by Portisch. It's not like he wanted to play sharp. It's just that black gave white that opportunity to make the game sharp with some dubious moves of black, like bishop a6, and then follow it with bishop takes e5 ideas that you saw around just when the game transitioned from opening to a middle game, somewhere around move 16, move 17. You see this is where the complication started. And as I was mentioning during the game analysis itself, I think bishop h7 was a very, very well calculated risk that Portisch took. I mean, when it becomes a very well calculated variation, then the risk factor is bare minimum. I mean, he would have seen Queen G4. I have no doubt about it. But I think this move caught his imagination. He wanted to really play this. So even someone who is considered to be super positional, actually built an amazing attack with Queen H5, Knight E4, and all his pieces worked like clockwork. They were all precise. They were all doing an individual role. For example, if you should look at the position after Rook CD1, this bishop is kind of putting so much pressure this down this diagonal, this rook is putting pressure down this diagonal, and you would know in the end rook e6 was a critical check that came after g8. So this rook is playing a role, queen is doing a fantastic role, knight is getting ready to play knight f6 or knight g5 ideas. All the white pieces are primed to do some amazing things here, and that's kind of the good thing when happens when you place your pieces in good healthy squares. When they are in a good square, they can do a lot of amazing things, but when they are in poorly placed square, their scope of doing amazing things is very limited. So that brings us to the end of this game between Lajos Portisch and Vladimir Simagin. I hope you all enjoyed this game and the series 21 Gems of Chess. We are kind of nearing to the end of our series because this is day 16 of our series, and we have only few more days to, and then the series is over. But we have still some amazing legendary players and their games to be covered. So I'm excited on next few days on whose games we'll be analyzing, and their great games that they have played. So before we wrap up, I just want to make a quick announcement about the online tournament that I had mentioned at the start of the video too. So the tournament is on April 13th from 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. 56,000 Indian rupees is the total prize fund. Time control is 4 minutes plus 1 second. And this is the prospectus. You can, if it's visible, you can see it over here. If not, in the YouTube video description of this video, you'll find all the details, the link of the details for this tournament. And thanks everyone for supporting us during this 21 Gems of Chess series. We have got tremendous support, and if you want to watch the PGN of the previous episodes, like the 15 episodes that we have done, you can see them in the Follow Chess app itself. And if you want to watch the video content, you can visit the Chess Gyaan YouTube channel where we are uploading these videos, and don't forget to subscribe to the Chess Gyaan YouTube channel. Thanks everyone. Everyone stay safe and stay home, and signing off is Grandmaster Priyadharshan, and I'll see you all tomorrow with a different Grandmaster and his legendary game. Bye bye.